Good morning, Skidaway. I'm excited to be with you this morning. This week I have been studying through Genesis 15, and God is continuing to reveal himself as a personal God. We see that Abram has gone through this great battle in chapter 14 in order to redeem Lot. And so we see chapter 15, one of the first things we see is Abram calling out, "Lord, my shield." And we see God's response being, "I am your God. I am Yahweh." And we see that God begins to reveal his plan to Abram that he has for him and his descendants. And of course, Abram's hearing all of this and it sounds great, but he's old and he has no children. And so he asks God, what do you mean? I'm going to have to give everything I own to my head slave of my household. And God continues to reveal himself that I am God, and I am going to give you descendants that are more numerous than the stars, and that I am going to be there when they are under suffering, when they are under persecution, when they are slaves in Egypt. I am. And that becomes such an iconic, such a well-known identifier as God. So when Moses is later in the presence of God, that's all God has to say is I am. This week has called to me that I need to find what name of God I can identify in my life right now in this time. As a teenager, one of the biggest names for me was God the Father. I went through some health issues and he became Rapha, my healer. I have gone through periods where, there are rumors that, get spread or there are ways that people think of you that you don't identify with, that you feel judged, and he becomes Jehovah Nissi, my God, my banner. And so that's one of the things that I've always tried to instill in youth and children, is being able to identify God with a name. And that's what Jesus did for us when he taught us how to pray to God. That name is such a powerful thing when it comes to identifying who he is, who he wants to be for us. And it is what allows us, it's what allowed Moses to later in the book of Exodus be able to call out, "My God, I want to see your glory." To dare to say, "I want to see your glory," even when God says you can't see my glory because you'll surely die. Moses come back with, "I want to see your glory." And that's my prayer for all of us, for our kids, for our youth, for you, that we will be so overwhelmed by who God shows himself to be in our lives, that when we call out the name of God, that our response to him is always, "I want to see your glory. I want you to manifest in my life so that when I come down off this mountaintop, everyone's telling me to put on a veil," because that's what happened with Moses, is that they're telling me to put on a veil because that shine is still here and it's scaring everyone. I want us to be so overwhelmed with the greatness and the glory and the love of God that the whole world sees it. That is my prayer for us today.